Shannon, what happened yesterday?
Well, this is what we normally see from the Cavaliers. They are a three-point shooting team. And when they do not shoot well from the three-point line, it gets ugly. They don't normally lose by 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. They lose by 25, 30. We saw this against Minnesota. We saw this against OKC. We saw it against the Houston Rockets at home. Skip, they are a three-point shooting team. When you go over 12 in the first half, what normally happens? That would happen. Skip, of the 26 three-pointers they shot, 24 of them was open or wide open. Analytics define open as 4 to 6 feet, 6 feet and beyond is wide open. They missed 24 of 26 shots. Either they were open or wide open. They're better than that. You know they're better than that. LeBron did not have not only was he inefficient at shooting the basketball, they only had 9 turnovers, but he had 7 of them. He knows he has to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. But normally what we've seen in game 1 from LeBron is that against Indiana, what happened, Skip? They shot a bunch of threes. They were ineffective. They got blown out. Now, Toronto let them off the hook because LeBron, again, had a bad game shooting the ball. They messed around and let the Cavs stay around, get them into overtime, and they won the game. The Boston Celtics are a very, very good team. They're very talented. They have every guy that starts for them can guard multiple positions. They can rotate. And again, I'm going to say it again, Skip. I lived in Atlanta for a quarter century. I remember when Al Horford got drafted. This is the best stretch of basketball I've seen Al Horford play. And the Atlanta Hawks front office and fans are saying, where the hell were you when you were here? You didn't play like this. He's playing unbelievable. Those guys can guard multiple positions. They can switch, rotate multiple times. And now everybody has confidence. They're letting the ball go. They're shooting the 3 ball with extreme confidence. So I'm not overly concerned. You might be, because I don't believe they will be this cold from the 3-point line again. I do not believe LeBron James will be this inefficient again. Because if memory serves you correct, it's only been a little over 3 weeks. You remember what happened in game 2 when they played Indiana, Skip? Oh, yeah, 46, 12, and 5. Do you remember what happened in game 2 when they played the baby dinosaur, Skip? 43, 14, and 8. Just watch tomorrow night.
Is that what you're predicting?
We'll have
40? Are you going 40 plus?
We'll have a different conversation on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel real comfortable in saying that.
Would you go to 40 plus in game 2?
I feel comfortable in saying I will have a different conversation, and I'll be keying over here on Wednesday, and you'll be, oh, it's Joe Jordan. Jordan wouldn't have needed this. Jordan wouldn't have needed a 50-point game to beat this team, which he never beat in the playoffs, I might remind. Let everybody know that. Michael Jordan never defeated the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. But I don't even know why I brought that up. But go ahead, Skip.
Interesting. So I sure hope you're right about game 2 because, silly me, I was the one who said Cavs in 5 in this series. I had little to no respect for the baby Celtics. I'm sorry. I just didn't see this coming. I was stunned by what I saw and did not see yesterday from your man, LeBron James. And I'm going to preface everything I'm about to say by the fact that you have set the bar very high. You've set it up to not Mount Rushmore. You've set it to Mount Olympus. You know Mount Olympus?
Yeah.
That's where the real king lives, right?
Is that where he reigns?
Yeah. So that's how high you set the bar. You told me last week he has now surpassed Michael Jeffrey Jordan as the greatest player ever, and you continue to say he is the best player on this planet today. Correct?
Absolutely.
So that my bar is way up here.
Both things are true, you just said.
This was LeBron James rested. This was LeBron versus a Celtics team without its 2 arguably best players. I'm starting to have doubts about that, but there's no Kyrie Irving and there's no Gordon Hayward.
Well, they went out with Gordon Hayward, so Gordon Hayward shouldn't matter because they've been without him for so long. They never played a game with him.
But those players were supposed to be there from the start of the year. So I figured, silly me, that LeBron James would come out in full-on attack mode and put these upstart Celtics right back in their place. Just the way he did all through last year's playoffs against the Celtics, right?
What have you seen from him this year, though?
Okay, but I'm saying, what did he do to the Celtics last year? I know it was Isaiah Thomas's team at that point, IT's team, but he just devastated them. They had no answer for him. And what happened on February 11th, right after the trade deadline, when it went boom, 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 and all those new Cavs got added? They went right up to Boston, and it was 121-99. And basically, LeBron James went out that day, and it was as if he were wearing those sneakers that he wore at Madison Square Garden that said, "I'm king." And he stepped on those baby Celtics and said, "No, not yet," right? It was just devastating. And by the way, Kyrie actually played in that game.
Right.
And Kevin Love did not play in that game. And somehow Kevin Love was the best Cavalier yesterday. Kevin Love outscored LeBron James? Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, I did not see that coming. What happened yesterday was LeBron James came out in full-on Lonzo Ball mode. That's what he was in. Remember Lonzo early this year, especially when he came out unplugged, disconnected, disengaged? What's your thing that you do when you put your goat mask on? You do right?
Yeah.
That's actually a sheep. But yesterday he was more because he was a sheep in wolf's clothing. That was a sheep. Who was that guy? We're always getting on LeBron on social media for being passive aggressive. He was just passive. He comes out like Lonzo does and starts throwing little weak, timid passes to the wing. Here, you shoot this contested jumper. I didn't see that many wide open threes.
Well, I'm just going by what the analytics, and we love those.
And yet, I thought LeBron would come out early and set the tone. And they got the tone set right on their head by the Celtics because that was LeBron just drifting through an entire first quarter in which the Celtics took the second biggest first quarter lead of their entire playoff history. It was 36-18 after a quarter, and frankly, the game was basically over at that point. Wouldn't you agree? And I thought LeBron, silly me, would try to power his way into the teeth of the Celtics defense. He couldn't get in the lane at all. Like in the first quarter, he just couldn't get in the lane. I thought he would get in the lane. I thought he would then start popping passes out to his snipers who would just be sitting wide open. Or I thought LeBron occasionally could actually get to the rack or get to the free throw line. And in the first quarter, it did not happen. LeBron James could dictate nothing in a first quarter that made me wonder, what's wrong? Is he hurt? Did he get lulled to sleep by the super highway that he had to the basket against Indiana and Toronto?
You keep looking back at what they did last year. Last year they had Kyrie Irving, so they also had a great 1-2 combination. What has he shown you this round of the playoffs in Game 1? It's also the game in which he shot the worst, and he's had triple doubles in both of those games. Skip. Game 1 is a feel-like game for him. Okay, he says, okay, Brad Stevens, now I see how you want to play me. Now I'm going to move the chess pieces over here and see what your reaction is going to be. The closeout game, J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver were 7 of 8 from the three-point line. Yesterday, they were 1 of 8. There's a difference, Skip. You understand that. This week, you're becoming a prisoner of the moment. You're looking at one game and says, oh, the series is over, just like you did in Indiana.
Why couldn't it be a feel-out first 5 minutes of the game, then you call timeout and say, oh, we need to switch this and fix that? No? I don't know. Silly me, you just give up the first game?
Hey.
So maybe we're all being set up? Is that what you're predicting? We're all being set up by the King so that he can have a spectacular comeback, turnaround game 2? I don't know, maybe.
So let me ask you a question. Had they won by 2 points, what's the difference? An L is an L. They would have been down 0-1. That's the bottom line. See, you get caught up in where they lost by 20. They lost by 18. If you lose by 2, 15, or 45 at the end of the day, you remember the Memorial Day Massacre. The Boston Celtics did what? They hung 148 on the Lakers. Yeah. What happened after that game, Skip?
The other way happened.
Exactly. So let's not get carried up in one game.
Okay, yet you said on our last show that we did on Thursday that you picked the King to win this game.
Yeah.
Correct?
But I also
so were you going off this year's brief history of what we've seen?
I also said the Cavaliers would win in 6.
Okay. Well, I said 5, and that's looking pretty dismal at this point because I was convinced the King would win Game 1. And guess what the King did? He and his team got annihilated, and worse, they got humiliated, which I did not see coming. You can say, well, it doesn't matter what the score was.
Were they humiliated in Game 1 at home by Indy? Losing by 20? Were they humiliated?
Yeah, I guess so. But this just seemed different to me because this was LeBron James' worst plus-minus half of his playoff career. That first half, he was minus 26 in the first half. He's never had a half worse than that in plus minus. That means in the time he was on the floor in the first half, they lost by 26 just in a half. That's his worst half, first or second half of his entire playoff career. For the game, he was a minus 32, which tied for his worst playoff game ever. That was game 3 against my Spurs, 2013, but he did turn it around in that game. Maybe not thanks so much to him, thanks to Ray Allen making that shot. That's what happened that saved that one and got him off the hook for what was about to happen in that game. Yeah.
Well, we don't know what it was about to. We know what did happen. But Skip, when you play as many games, it's hard for me to imagine that a guy can play as many playoff games as LeBron James has played and not have a bad half, a bad quarter, or a bad game. So we need to stop with this. Oh, he's never played. So Tom Brady has never had a bad playoff game? Do you remember the game, Joe Flacco, his rookie year? What was Tom Brady's QBR?
We're talking about LeBron and Michael Jordan.
Whoa,
now, right?
whoa.
Different.
Hold on. So is Tom Brady not the GOAT? So now Tom Brady.
No, you told me he wasn't the GOAT.
No. Hold on. We had a discussion, Joy Taylor, in which Skip Bayless told me that Tom Brady was more clutch and better than Michael Jordan. You said that. Now, all of a sudden, he had a terrible game in 2009 against the Ravens. You want to disregard that. Skip, stop. You and I both know if you play long enough, bad things are going to happen. It's just like in anything. You fight long enough in boxing, somebody get you. UFC. So if you play enough individual sports or team sports, you're going to have a bad
You know what?
half.
You're right about that because Michael Jordan had only 6 games under 20 points in his entire playoff career. Now LeBron's had 25 games under 20.
Skip, if you shoot
25 games under 20?
If you shoot the ball 30 times.
Oh, that's right.
Hold on. Well, how about this here? How about you tell the people the night that Michael Jordan scored 45, I think it was against Utah, he shot the ball 39 times. So in other words, he had 6 more points than shots. Okay, game 6, the closeout game against the Supersonics, he was 6 of 19, Joey, had 21 points, but they won. Now, we just saw James Harden against the Minnesota Timberwolves go 2 for 8. Hold on.
Don't bring James Harden into this. Just pathetic.
No, what I'm trying to show you, James Harden shot 2 of 18, and his team won by 20 points. It just goes to show you, LeBron James can never have an off moment. He can never go to sleep, because if he does, this is what happens.
Well,
but I'm not overly concerned.
He really went to sleep in 2011 because that was I think his 4th worst plus minus 24, which I thought was the all-time worst of his career because it was game 6, the closeout game, and the chosen one turned back into the frozen one, but that was actually a 3-game collapse, game 4, 5, and 6. So it was actually a collective collapse by LeBron, but I'll save that for later. Later in the show, we'll discuss whether this will rank as LeBron's worst playoff game. And the truth is, it probably depends on what's about to happen from here on. You may look back at that one yesterday and say, that was the worst because of what didn't happen after it. But if you're right about game 2, it will come and it will go, right?
Well, that's what happens.
Okay.
You become the very, they say, my grandfather said, boy, you're not careful, you'll become the very thing you despise the most in a person. Skip Bayless says, just become a prisoner of the moment. The term that he so coined.
Interesting.
A prisoner of the moment. He's going to let one game dictate how he feels in his perception. Well, we already know his perception of LeBron James. Of all that greatness, those 230 playoff games, averaging 28.5 points. And you're going to say, okay, this is going to define him now after what you've seen?
It did because it was so shockingly unplugged. It was like, who are you and what are you doing for an entire half?
Because
I haven't seen that. I never saw that from Michael Jordan. Never, ever saw it.
Because let me tell you what happened. Okay, he plays bad. You say he's unplugged. He scores 45 and they lose. It's like, well, what can they do now? He just scored 45, so he can't play much better than that. How do they win the game? So it's I'll be damned if he do, I'll be damned if he don't. So what can he do?
I agree with you. The Cavs can't miss their first 14 threes and hang in a game with this team. They wound up 4 of 26. That won't work. That has to change. But what you neglected to say was that LeBron James was 0 for 5. Yeah. So he didn't set any tone from the three-point line for his team. Am I right?
No, no one did.
By the way, I'm being prisoner of the moment here, but for this entire playoff run so far, has anybody pointed out that LeBron James is shooting 26% from the three-point line? That's for the whole playoffs. That's for Indiana, Toronto, and Game 1 against Boston. 26%. Is that good? Can you defend that?
No, I can't.